This woman is robbing a bank. Her name is Sally. She's not a criminal. She's just like all of us. Why would she ever rob a bank? What makes the situation even more strange is this is a toy gun. This is her bank, and she's stealing her own money. Okay, wait a minute. Why is Sally robbing her own bank to get her own money out? How could someone become so desperate? What could have possibly happened to turn her life into Pulp Fiction? And most importantly, if Sally's just like us, could whatever happened to her happen to you or me? Could we find our lives turned upside down, just like Sally? I hate to tell you, but the answer is yes. The same forces that pushed Sally to take the desperate action to rob her own bank affect all of us, too. Because just like Sally, you are being scammed. You don't realize it yet, but you are, just like Sally, right now, in this very minute. Every hour, every minute, every second of every day, you are being scammed. No matter how careful you are, not by some Nigerian prince or a Russian hacker, but by someone or something you can't avoid. No matter what you do, no matter how careful you are. Who's scamming you? And how? And most importantly, how can you stop it? The answers will shock you. This scam is nearly invisible, and the few parts that you can see, you've been taught to think are completely normal. It's a classic pyramid scheme, and we're going to show you exactly how it works. What you're about to find out is that you are being scammed by the entire system of money itself. You need to know how you are being scammed and what you can do to prevent it, so you can protect yourself and your family, because money is the biggest scam in the world. Step 1. Money from nothing. If you're into watching true conspiracy videos, you probably know this, but it's important to remember that every dollar in your bank account was created from absolutely nothing, out of thin air. It wasn't created by any government. A small group of people creates almost every piece of money that exists in the world, and they make it out of absolutely nothing. Just a few keystrokes on a computer. That's right. A group of people, no different than you or me, control almost all of the money created in the world. That's not an exaggeration. It's 100% true. Now, before anyone has a chance to misinterpret what we're saying here, let's be clear. The people who create our money are only connected by their chosen profession, and they're not all from any one family, ethnicity, religion, or any feature granted at birth. There are some family dynasties in this banking business, like in any private business, but the individual people choose who will carry on the family legacy, like many businesses around the world. In America, these individuals control the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a private company, just like Federal Express, except Federal Express doesn't have the right to create unlimited sums of money out of thin air. And unlike the Federal Reserve, FedEx can be audited by the government at any time. Private Bank of the Federal Reserve has never been audited, not even once, since it was founded over 100 years ago. Now, the Federal Reserve can create unlimited amounts of money, which they do, and buy U.S. bonds with that new money where they earn interest. But if the Federal Reserve creates all the money, and the U.S. government has to pay interest on that money that's created, where does the money to pay the interest come from? Well, the government just has to get more money from the Fed at even more interest, which they'll have to pay with even more money. That doesn't exist yet until they get more from the Fed. This cycle goes on and on and on like that forever, with the debt of the U.S. government going up and up and up forever, never with enough money in existence to pay off the debt. So that's why the U.S. debt clock goes up and up and up to infinity, and a baby born in 2024 automatically owes over $80,000 before they take their first breath. Their share of the U.S. debt is like a dog chasing its own tail, but the dog's tail gets shorter and shorter forever, making it more and more impossible to ever reach its goal. But that's not where this craziness ends. Step 2. more money from nothing. Then, the Federal Reserve sends this newly created magic money to their member banks, and they make even more magic happen because these banks can lend 100% of all the money they have, including all the money in your accounts, out to other people. Again, at interest, meaning your money isn't actually in the bank. The money that didn't exist is multiplied without ever actually existing. And since every bank can do this, the non-existent money goes around and around and around, from bank to bank, multiplying in the computers without ever really existing anywhere at all. But what does this have to do with you and me and Sally? Well, when lots of new money is created, it makes it easier for more people to afford more things, like cars and houses. But there aren't that many more cars and houses to buy. So it becomes a big auction, and the prices go up until we get to a balance between the amount of buyers and the amount of sellers again. So that means with each dollar that's created, either through the Federal Reserve or the banks, every dollar in your bank account is worth less and less. And that's what you've been told to accept by the news as inflation. Prices go up every year, sometimes every month, because your individual dollars are worth less and less in terms of what they can buy. So you have to work harder and harder to keep the same standard of living. What does that mean to you and me? Well, the price of the McDonald's Big Mac went up from 50 cents in 1980 to $8 in 2024. And what's worse is that the burger is almost half the size it was before. See what we mean? Now look at this chart on inflation and how it's affected what the dollar can buy since 1900. The $100 in 1900 is now worth $2.64. So keeping your money in the bank is like slowly setting it on fire every day, every minute. Even if the number in your bank account stays exactly the same, you can afford less and less and less. That's the theft that's built into our system. The money in your bank account is slowly burning, returning to the nothingness from whence it came. We're all just like Lucy and Ethel from the old I Love Lucy show, working on a conveyor belt that's going faster and faster, and no one can possibly keep up. This is all by design, of course, to keep you too busy and too distracted to ever figure out what's actually going on. And that's not all, because the game is even more rigged than this. Step 3, legal loan sharking. So, now you know that banks can lend all the money they have that was created from nothing to people at interest. But here's the trick. As you move down the wealth pyramid, the interest rates get higher and higher. So the people at the bottom of the pyramid with much less money pay way more in interest, up to 30% if a bank will work with you, or over 300% if you have to get payday loans or loans from other places. Some states, like Delaware and Missouri, have absolutely no limit on the amount of interest a bank can charge. So the interest could go up to infinity. But here's the thing. The more interest you have to pay, the more money you're actually paying for whatever you just bought, and the harder you have to work to pay it off. So the money you make is worth even less than it was before. And it gets worse and worse the less money you have. Let's see how interest rates can turn a $10,000 car into a monster truck of debt, depending on the interest rate you get from the bank. If you have plenty of money and you don't need a loan, of course, the $10,000 car will cost you $10,000. But if you don't have the money right away and you need the car, you can get a loan with a 5% interest rate. At the end of 5 years, you would have paid $12,420 for that car. It's more than $10,000, but not terrible. But what if you don't have much money and your credit score isn't that great? And you get a 20% interest rate on the loan instead. Over the same 5 years, you will have paid $26,000 for that same car. That's more than 2.5 times what the person with money paid. And if you put that $10,000 on a credit card at nearly a 30% interest rate, you could be paying for that car for the rest of your life. You see how interest rates make your dollars buy even less now? Now you can understand why paying any interest on a loan was actually illegal in many societies and called usury. In the Bible, usury is put on a list of abominable things, along with rape, murder, and robbery. The Greek philosophers Plato and Aristotle believed usury was immoral and unjust. In Dante's Inferno, usurers are put at the lowest ledge in the seventh circle of hell, even lower than murderers. And in America, the first colonies had usury laws, setting the interest cap at 8%. After 1776, all the states enacted a general usury law, with most states setting the limit at 6%. So what happened between then and now, where some states allow unlimited interest rates, and the word usury has virtually disappeared? Interest rates are a reverse tax on the poor. And we are living in a land of legal usury. And we haven't even touched the subject of how the banks take even more of people's possessions by lowering and then raising interest rates over time, which is what caused millions of people to lose their houses in 2008. Unfortunately, the theft of your money doesn't end here, because there is one more way that the system steals from you in front of your very eyes. Step 3. Tax the middle. If a job asked you to work for free for 3 to 5 months out of the year, what would you tell them? But isn't this what happens when the government takes their tribute, taxes, out of your paycheck before you even see it? Somewhere between a quarter and a half of the salaries earned by working people is taken by the government. And here's the thing. It's only really the people in the middle. The people at the bottom have no money to tax. And the rich pay almost no taxes because they earn most of their money from investments, which aren't taxed as much. So the people in the middle pay all the taxes, making it harder and harder to climb up the pyramid. And everyone pays sales tax, no matter how you get your money. The people in the middle and the bottom, those who can't afford to save and invest, are also taxed even more when they buy what they need. How can all this be happening right in front of our eyes? The art of pickpocketing. All good pickpockets know that you need to control the mark's attention, that is, the person you're stealing from, so they can pick their pockets clean. And like the best of pickpockets, our system is great at keeping their marks distracted. That's you and me, by the way, so that we never figure out that we are being robbed blind. Every day, we're kept busy, just trying to make enough money to survive. And during our downtime, we continue to be distracted by sports, entertainment, the news, family life, etc., etc., etc. So we never see the con, and that's just how they like it. So why did Sally rob her own bank? Did she figure the whole scam out, and did that piss her off? Sally lives in Lebanon, where the con became so obvious that even the World Bank called their banking system a Ponzi scheme. The banks in Lebanon created unlimited amounts of currency, just like we do, but they need to trade with the rest of the world using the US dollar. So they offered high interest rates to foreigners for the US dollar. Eventually, when the inflation became so bad because of their money printing, the people of Lebanon wanted to take their money out of the banks, and the banks said no. Sally's sister was sick with cancer and needed money for her treatments. Her life was literally on the line. So when the bank refused to give her her own money, she grew so desperate that she robbed the bank to get her money out and save her sister's life. Afterwards, Sally became a national hero and a symbol of resistance against the bankers who stole everybody's money. What happened in Lebanon is happening in the US, but in slow motion. So slowly that you don't even notice it. But your money in the bank is burning, slowly. It's worth less and less every day. And in truth, the only difference between Lebanon and the US is that the US dollar is the reserve currency for the entire world. But what happens if countries start to trade in other currencies or go back to a gold standard? Some have tried, but their leaders have met with unfortunate accidents. Money is power. If it's true that money is power, then the people who own the central banks and their cronies have all the power, because they can create as much money as they want out of thin air and buy anything or anyone they want, including the politicians that make the laws. That's why One of the central bankers from a long time ago, Mayer Amschel Rothschild, famously said, "Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws." And that's also why our country's usury laws and limits on interest rates are virtually non-existent now. All of this is going on while you literally sell the actual minutes, hours, and years of your life for money. This thing that doesn't really exist and that someone else just creates out of absolutely nothing at all. So in the end, you're actually being scammed out of the time in your life. Even the peasants in medieval times only worked less than 1/2 of the year. What happened to all of us to make us so thankful for a few weeks of freedom from our jobs every year? The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Now, can you see that this is all by design? The system is rigged to suck up all the wealth in the form of life energy, property, resources, and any other real assets from the poor and middle classes and go straight up to the upper classes and the 1%, like a huge global vacuum cleaner, and to keep the rest of us so busy that we never realize that we are being robbed of our wealth and of the years of our lives. And what happens at the bottom of this pyramid? Exactly what you'd expect. More violence, more crime. No matter where you go in the world, it's a product of this system. All the while, the real theft and crime is happening at the top, invisible to almost everyone, except now you can see it. Now you understand that expecting things to be different in this system is like expecting to be able to throw a rock to the moon. It defies the fundamental laws of the system we all live in. And here's the thing. They tell you it's all a pyramid scheme. They put it right on the money while they laugh themselves to their banks. The art of the con. It's important to remember that the con in con artist is short for confidence. And we have way too much confidence in this system. Confidence in the banks. Confidence in what's done with the money that's taken out of our paychecks. Confidence that the money in our pockets is actually worth something. If, at any time, our confidence in those things fails, the shell game is over, and the whole house of cards will fall, and we can work together to build a fairer system. We're not talking about communism here, but this corrupt system surely isn't fair capitalism, where the best and brightest can compete to become successful. This is something else entirely. What can we do now to protect ourselves? First, share this video with everyone you care about so that they stop being scammed by this system too. The more people who know this, the more power we will all have. Live within your means, if at all possible. There's a reason credit cards are so easy to get. Keep the amount you spend below the amount you make. Avoid debt at all costs. Unless you're getting a very low interest rate and you're purchasing something like a business that you're sure will make you more money than the interest you're paying, it's better to save up and buy what you want when you can afford it. Try to save a bit of money if you can. Try to keep an emergency fund of 6 months' salary so you don't have to go into debt if something goes wrong. And after that, make some investments to try to get ahead of the game. As you can see, just keeping money in the bank is a losing bet. A safe choice is buying an index fund on one of the big stock indexes, like the S&P. When money's created, the stock market tends to go up. You can also try inflation-proof investments like gold or Bitcoin. Bitcoin was actually designed to be a safe bet against inflation. If you're new to Bitcoin, you can use the link in the description to open a safe account. Of course, none of this is investment advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. You should consult with your advisors to figure out what works best for you. Subscribe to this channel for more true conspiracy stories. Thank you for watching this important video, and stay curious.